Om Ajnanasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurannilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshakarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratishe Namaha Vancha Kalpataruvasya Prabha Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing about the great devotee of the Lord called Mahatma Vidura. So let me share the screen. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1st, chapter number 13. Dhritarashtra quits home. So the scene is that Vidura is returning to Pandava's place. He had been out during the entire war, and the entire massacre was not seen by him directly, but he heard about it. And while he was not there, he had heard a great deal of Krishna Katha from Rishi Maitreya. And now here are some series of verses which describe his again meeting the Pandavas as well as especially Dhritarashtra. So let us see. So the scene is that he is returning back to the palace of Hastinapur. And now, as you know, after the war, Hastinapur has Dhritarashtra as the Dhritarashtra is there as the eldest person, but actually the king is Yudhishthira Maharaj, and the Pandavas are the ruling people. So what happens when they all see Vidura returning to their palace? Okay, just remember that he was not there for all this time, but previously he was one of the most loving personalities on the planet for them, other than Krishna. So I'm just going to read some of the verses and then we'll recite some of the verses. When they saw Vidura return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthir, his younger brothers, Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjay, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. See, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period. But this is very interesting, actually. You see, like the kind of life which the Pandavas had led, they should have regained their life the moment they got the kingdom back. They should have been delighted when they could settle scores with their arch enemies, arch rivals, the Kauravas. When the Kauravas fell dead, they should have been celebrating party, right? Instead of all this, what is explained in the Bhagavatam is, first thing, Krishna and Pandavas were not happy to see Kauravas dead after the war. So they never wanted it. They just wanted to themselves to survive. Like the Pandavas themselves, they wanted some service. They wanted to do some service. The war they fought not for themselves, but only for Dharma, as inspired by Krishna. They wanted to serve Krishna, and that's why they did. Karishya Vachanam Tava. Okay. And they were not happy, okay? Even after the entire bloodshed, Yudhishthira Maharaj was actually repenting. That just to make myself king, look what I've done. I've killed 64 crore people. 640 million people I've killed. Whether on this side or that side. They died because of this war. And this war happened just to make me the king. Yudhishthira Maharaj hated himself. Now this is called a Vaishnava. Vaishnava jana to tene kahi re pira parai jane re. Vaishnava by definition is one who understands the pain, the suffering of others. Krishna says in the 12th chapter of the Gita that a Vaishnava is one by whom nobody is put into difficulty in life. Wow, very interesting definition. One by whom nobody else is put into difficulty. Oh my goodness. That is a standard Krishna is expecting from a Vaishnava. Now you look at Maharaj Vidura. What was the history of Maharaj Vidura? And what is the present circumstances of Maharaj Vidura? So let us go back little bit. You know, let me take you to third canto just on a detour. I think it is the first chapter. Yeah. This verse says, this is a very, very special verse. Sa itham atyulbana karna baner भ्रातु पुरो मर्म ताड़ितोपि स्वयं धनुर्द्वारि निधाय मायां गतव्यथो याद उरुमानयाना. And these the two keywords are sa itham atyulbana, albana karna bane. Okay, this is one thing. And second thing is swayam dhanur dwari nidhaya. Okay, these are the two key words. What does this verse mean? See, what does it say? Thus being pierced by arrows, karna bane, through his ears, and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be the supreme. This is brilliant, absolutely brilliant stuff. Look what Prabhupada says in the purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is never perturbed by an awkward position created by the external energy of the Lord. In the Gita, it is stated, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasya ahankara vimuna kartaham iti manyate. A conditioned soul is absorbed in material existence under the influence of different modes of external energy. Absorbed in the false ego, he thinks that he is doing everything by himself. The external energy of the Lord, the material nature, is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and the conditioned soul is fully under the grip of the external energy. Therefore, the conditioned soul is fully under the control of the law of the Lord. But due to illusion only, he thinks himself independent in his activities. Duryodhana was acting under such influence of the external nature, by which he could be vanquished at the ultimate end. He could not accept the sound advice of Vidura, but on the contrary, he insulted that great soul, who was a well-wisher of his entire family. Vidura could understand this because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. In spite of being very strongly insulted by Duryodhana's words, Vidura could see that Duryodhana, under the influence of Maya, the external energy, was making progress on the path towards his own ruination. He therefore considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Yet he also saw how the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that particular situation. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. So, Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace of his brother. He was always ready to leave the place and devote himself completely to the transcendental loving service of God. Now he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhana, and instead of being sorry at the strong words of insult, he thanked him from within because it gave him the chance to live alone in a holy place and fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. See what is a scene here. So after years and years of service, after a lifetime of service to Dhritarashtra, Vidura is being kicked out. Why? Because when Duryodhana started his nefarious acts towards against the Pandavas, you know the mainstream story of Mahabharata. So that time, what happened is that Dhritarashtra could actually see that this is wrong, but because of his attachment to Duryodhana, he couldn't handle Duryodhana. He kept saying yes, okay, fine, go ahead, do it, do it, do it. Kept sanctioning because he was the king. He was the father of Duryodhana. He was the king of the entire kingdom, and so he kept sanctioning the ill-motivated, selfish, and very, very brutal desires of Duryodhana. And in doing so, he did extreme amount of injustice to the Pandavas, extreme amount of insult to the Pandavas. And he did a lot of adharma. He acted against so many codes of conduct. He acted against Krishna himself. He acted against the pure devotees of the Lord. He even sanctioned Draupadi's Chiraharan right in the palace publicly. This was too much. When Vidura tried to explain to Dhritarashtra in a very similar fashion, just like Vibhishan tried to explain to Ravana. Vibhishan as well as Vidura were great devotees of the Lord, and they both were very learned in the science of human behavior, in the science of religion, in the science of dharma, how the duty of each person should, what morality and ethics should be. But both of their brothers, intoxicated by their own post as kings and intoxicated by the attachment to their own sons, they just couldn't listen to the good advice. And can you imagine, somehow, interestingly, parallelly in both the cases, Vidura as well as Vibhishan were kicked out of the kingdom, the palace, and the royal family with only their clothes on. In fact, their wives and their children also were not allowed to go with them. And who kicked them out? The father and son duo, especially like Duryodhan and in that case Indrajit, the sons of these kings, they kicked them out. And the elder brothers did not do anything because they couldn't recognize who was their real friend and who was their real enemy. That is a problem of material attachment or lust. When lust develops, when the deep material attachment to the object of enjoyment develops, there begins the destruction of the person because he is not able to apply his intelligence. Now, what happens is when this insult, deep insult, publicly, Vidura was insulted, publicly, extreme amount of insult. And Vidura was Kshatriya also. He could have actually, his blood would be boiling had he been a normal person. He would have waged a war there itself. He would have lost his cool and he would have waged a war, or he would have at least, retained a great amount of enmity inside his heart. And he would have acted in some negative way after going somewhere. He would have planned some revenge out and all those things. But no, he did not do so. What does the verse say? Let me again show you the translation. Thus, being pierced by arrows through his ears, which means the words of Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra were like arrows, piercing through the ears of Vidura and straight going to his heart. They were supposed to be like that. Okay. And afflicted to the core of his heart. Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. See, why did he place his bow on the door? He said that you are troubling me, you are declaring enmity towards me, against me, but I am calling it a quits. I am not interested in fighting you or avenging, my insult. Nothing. This is the character of a Vaishnava. This is the character of a great person. In fact, Prabhupada writes in the purport that Vidura, Vidura was so pure-hearted that even though Krishna arranged such situation in life, like he could have just said, come on, Krishna, what is this? I served you lovingly for last 50, 60 years. I served these guys, and you're allowing it to happen with your devotee. No. He felt that Krishna is indeed blessing me. He's freeing me from all this political situations. He's freeing me from all this management and from being in the association of such people. And he's allowing me to go to the forest where I can associate with the sages. I can hear Krishna Katha. I can focus on simply the Shastras. I can focus on spiritual life. This is how a devotee sees, just like Prabhupada saw when that calamity happened in his business as well as in his home. And he was left alone. Prabhupada says, all that was remaining in my life about all my family members and friends was simply a list of names. Nobody was standing with me. Here I was alone, a 69-year-old man in the very city where I spent my entire life, in the city of Calcutta, and I was all alone. I didn't mean anything to anyone. Why? Because now I wanted to serve Krishna and the society. And my own employees, my own people whose families I helped survive, they left me. They looted my wealth. They looted my entire company. And Prabhupada smiled. Krishna, you are so merciful. You are extraordinarily merciful upon me because you are making me surrender. A devotee does not see others to be acting against him, and a devotee does not see even himself the doer of something wonderful. Rather, he sees the loving hand of God in everything which happens in his life. It doesn't develop enmity towards the as you say, the instruments of his karma. He sees that okay, if at all something difficult is coming in my life, that's because of my own karma. And so in this way he remains humble. He remains open, his heart remains open to the grace of God. He wins the heart of God because he's grateful. He's seeing God's love in God's embrace as well as in God's slap. When a father takes his child to the hospital and gets him injected with an injection or something, okay, vaccinated or something, it pains the child. And when the same father feeds some sweetmeats and all the child, in both the cases, he's actually loving the child. Just the form is different. The same electricity can cool as well as can heat. It is the same electricity acting with the same power. Just the external effect is different. Similarly, what happens is when God's love comes upon us, the form may be immaterial actually, but the main essence of God's love is that he's paying attention to his devotee. So that's how a devotee sees, and Vidura won the heart of the Lord by not being faithless but being faithful, even in such circumstances. And Lord saw that he's because God, Krishna loves Duryodhana as well as Dhritarashtra. They're like spoiled kids, but they're God's kids nonetheless. They are also his part and parcel, eternally his own people. And when Krishna sees that, okay, here is my devotee Vidura, who doesn't declare enmity, but is always a well-wisher of other living entities. Prabhupada is to write, is to sign off every letter as your ever well-wisher. Now that is the quality of Mahatma Vaibhav. Okay. Now let's get back to the Canto 1, where we originally began. Yeah. So now, after the entire war is over, as I shared with you, Yudhishthira Maharaj was indeed feeling repentant, and Dhritarashtra was like crying in his heart because Vidura always gave him good advice. Dhritarashtra never followed, and now he lost his son. He lost all his sons and daughters, and he lost his kingdom. He lost all his confidence. He lost everything actually. Okay, now when Vidura is coming back to the palace, so for everyone, especially the Pandavas, it's like life coming back because Vidura was always a person who loved them selflessly. Vidura was always a person who helped them love Krishna. Vidura always was desiring their welfare, their joy. And same thing with Dhritarashtra. See here in the list, Dhritarashtra is also there. Kripi is also there. Now they are also realizing that this personality is our actual well-wisher. That's why they are hurrying to him in great delight. Actually, when two people have Krishna in the center of their relationship only blossoms with the passage of. Now, unlike the material relationships, like when their husband, there's like family members. Prabhu, am I able or is the connection unstable?
Yes, Prabhu. Sometimes it is breaking.
Okay. Prabhu, I have less bandwidth here. I am switching off my video.
Okay.
You can continue to keep it on. This will help me being more consistent. Okay.
Okay, bro. Sure.
Yeah. Anytime you experience inconsistency, in the transmission, please let me know. Okay.
Sure,
Now,
bro.
how is it better?
Yeah, it is much better, bro.
Okay, great. Now, please do interrupt me. This is
Okay,
India,
bro.
Baba, not US.
Yes. Sure. Thank
Yeah. So, could you hear the last part? Like, what did you hear the last?
we heard that when you are going back to first canto, Prabhu, that there we after that.
Okay. Okay. See, when Vidura is returning to the palace, so when Vidura returns to the palace, just see how everyone, all the Pandavas, your uncle, my dear brother-in-law, my dear grandfather, they were all like mad. Prabhu, they were not even 1% happy of what they're happy right now when they won the war. Why is it so? Because of because of the fact that Vidura actually always loved them selflessly. Because of the fact that Vidura always gave them sadupadesh, the right advice based on the Shastras. Because of the fact that Vidura helped them love Krishna. Because Vidura never had a selfish agenda. Never. Because Vidura never had any kind of duplicity in his dealings. Because Vidura never acted in any way short of the utmost welfare of all these people. Some could understand it that time, some could not. Like Dhritarashtra and Kripi could not understand that time. But now they are able to appreciate when they are able to look back in their life. And that is why all of them are just running to him. Another reason, this is one reason, like he always loved them selflessly, he was always their greatest well-wisher, he always gave them the best advice. He was the one who was always willing to protect them, even against being misunderstood, even at the cost of being misunderstood. Okay. Second reason is because Vidura was a great lover of Krishna. And so now, because they also all need Krishna in their life, so they understand actually that actually anybody who loves Krishna becomes very attractive to any other person who has even little appreciation for divinity. Like Prabhupada loved Krishna, and therefore so many people loved him. All the devotees loved him. They wanted to always discuss and hear about Prabhupada. Why? Because Prabhupada loved Krishna. Anyone who loves Krishna, becomes very attractive by the very nature. Just like those Bhaktivedantas last time we discussed, how Narada boy was deeply attracted to those Bhaktivedantas. Okay. So see the words Bhagavatam is using. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period, like as if they were spiritually dead and now they are just gaining back their life. So this is Vidura. And now see what happens ahead. I'll be taking you in a little quick way. With great delight, they all approached him as if life had returned to their bodies. They welcomed each other in due manner by exchanging obeisances and embracing. Yeah, see, it's like a party. Due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthir then arranged for sitting accommodations and a reception. After Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened. Okay. So he's asking questions to Vidura. My uncle, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson. So actually, they are remembering this, how Vidura saved them from so many incidents, actually, from so many conspiracies against them, from that famous experiment, not experiment, from that famous attempt to murder, because Dhritarashtra had placed all the Pandavas and Kunti in a new palace in the name of giving them favor, an affectionate favor. He placed them in a new palace, and that palace walls were laced with in India they call it camphor, kapoor. So with a little bit of like one flash of fire also, the entire palace was supposed to catch fire and they were supposed to burn inside, and that's what happened. But on the last moment, Vidura had warned them, and therefore they could dig a tunnel and they could get out of it. So they are remembering that. Just like you see this bird, he even uses his wings. Even against being murdered, himself against being killed by a predator, a bird tries to save the little kids or the little eggs of his. Then he says, while traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy places and pilgrimage sites did you render service? This is a very famous verse, okay? This 10th. So you see this is blue, na? Because I searched this section also by this only. Yeah. What is this verse? Bhavad vidha bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vibho tirthi kurvanti tirthani swantastena gadapita. What does it say? My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. You yourself are a walking, talking holy place. Because you carry the person, you got it within your heart. You turn all the places into place of pilgrimage. See, a devotee who carries Krishna in his heart, he himself is a place of holy pilgrimage. Like when you have His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu visit there, you are in holy place, you are in Vrindavan. because he himself is a holy place personified. Srila Prabhupada went out of Vrindavan, but he carried Vrindavan to all over the world. And then he inspired people, with the love of Vrindavan. And then he brought them back to Vrindavan. Because Prabhupada always carried Krishna in his heart. And therefore his heart was Vrindavan. Like His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj has made in India, near Mumbai, on Mumbai-Gujarat border, Govardhan Eco Village. It's an entire replica of Vrindavan actually. This beautiful place. My uncle, you must have visited Dwarka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of Lord Shri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abode? See how they're asking about Krishna and Krishna's associates. Okay. Then Vidura started. See, one thing you see, he did not say the news of Krishna and Dwarkavasis leaving the planet. Just few days before Vidura met these people, Krishna and all the Dwarkavasis had left the planet. They had gone back to Goloka. But he especially does not see. Previously, people were very cultured. They were not delighting in telling negative news to others. In Kali Yuga, that's what they're looking for. They'll make up the negative news even if it doesn't exist. They'll make business out of it. They'll delight in seeing others, frustrated and all this. Pick up a newspaper, open a news channel. It's all, almost the whole thing is like that. But you see the refined nature of the people who were connected to Krishna. This is Vedic life. This is India. What was there? So compassionate Mahatma Vidura could not stand to see the Pandavas distressed at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable and unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord. Vidurji understood it. Why should I make them unhappy by giving that news? Anyway, they'll come to know one day or the other. So what does he say? Okay. So there is a small history of Vidura being given. How Vidura was actually Yamaraj. And Yamaraj actually, once Yamaraj punished one Manduka Muni, little bit like the punishment given was disproportionate actually. It was not proper. So therefore, that Manduk Muni cursed Yamaraj that you will take birth in a lowly family on earth. And anyway, but Yamaraj was a pure devotee. So even when he came as Vidura, he was always a well-wisher of everyone. Although his service as Yamaraj was different. Yeah. Now Mahatma Vidura knew all the situation, the entire situation. Now he's addressing Dhritarashtra. See, look at it. He's addressing Dhritarashtra. My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you. Actually, Prabhu, even now, Vidura is the greatest well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. Nobody's daring to tell this truth to Dhritarashtra. That now you are so old, your all the sons have also died. Now you should get out of this place. See, this is the quality of Maharaj Mahatma Vidura. I mean, just look at this person. Look at his DNA. He has been insulted thoroughly in his life by this guy, Dhritarashtra and his son. He was declared an outcast from the society. His family, his palace, his everything was taken away. His life was taken away, even in his very ripe old age. And yet he comes back as the greatest well-wisher of Dhritarashtra. I mean, we don't have the time to read the entire chapter ahead, but it's like, what a golden character he is exhibiting here, Vidura. So, such is the character of Mahatma Vidura whom we are discussing today. So now it's 35 minutes already. So I would like to take a break here. I mean, to stop here, and we can have 5 minutes of discussion or question answers. So first of all, I hope you like this character of Mahatma Vidura. We discuss his prominent 4-5 qualities. So was it relevant and inspiring, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, yes, Prabhu, this is very relevant. I really like the point that he did not lose faith in Krishna. Although he had served the family for his lifetime, and he was also serving Krishna. So how could his service go in vain? How could the same people throw him out of the his service? But he did not think it as I mean, he saw Krishna's hand in it, so
Yeah.
he was faithful.
It is that purport. Do you remember where Prabhupada said that? Prabhupada says that he was affected by the internal energy of the Lord, Mayam. So it's like, just like I discussed about Prabhupada, that how they saw it as great mercy of the Lord. Like, you remember Narada boy, when his mother died, he saw it as mercy of the Lord. That Lord is helping me to become attached to him. So actually, when, like, you see a dog always loves his master. A dog always recognizes his master, whether he comes in a suit, boot, tie, he comes in a loose, some kind of just one cloth or something. Whether the master even comes with a big beard, unrecognizable, or the master even comes naked. The dog is known for his loyalty. Similarly, actually, we see here the loyalty of the devotee. He takes everything to be because he never doubts the Supreme Lord, his master. Very good, actually. You caught a very essential point.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Other devotees.
So, any questions, comments, anything you wish to share?
I have a quick question, Prabhus. Thank you very much for the very inspiring class. There's so many amazing points that I've been writing down from this class. I have a quick question about one statement that you made when you were talking about the effect of a pure devotee in the world and the effect of Prabhupada in the world. You said a pure devotee is a place of pilgrimage because he carries Krishna within his heart. But Prabhu, one thing I'd like to ask to clarify this is that definitely the Paramatma, the philosophy is that Paramatma is actually seated within the heart of every living being, not just a pure devotee. So what's the difference here between an ordinary living being that's like, not Krishna conscious and a pure devotee with Krishna in his heart?
I wish to thank you so much for this brilliant question. Actually, I wanted to discuss this right away in the middle of the. So I'll just need a minute. Huh? I just have to speak this. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, can I just call you in 10 minutes? I'm in the middle of a class. I'm just ending, Prabhuji. Yeah, I'm sorry. Actually, one senior devotee, His Grace Gaurang Darshan, got called. So, yeah. Okay, he's there only, I think. He's there only. Oh, Krishna. Yeah. He's working on, we have some services together, so we have to converse regularly. So, what I was answering in Prabhu's query, it is such a beautiful question, Prabhu, which you raised. Let me show you two verses quickly. Okay. see here. This is, I think it's 18.61 in the Gita. Yeah. See, Prabhu. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddesha arjuna tishtati ramayan sarvabhutani yantrarudani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the metal energy. So, Prabhu, I don't know what I should call out as your name, but I think like I'll just call you Ram Prabhu. So, Ram Prabhu, see here, this is a verse which just talks about the Paramatma in general. So, Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. There is a personalized incarnation of Krishna in everyone's heart known as Super Soul. And Super Soul does his duty, of course, lovingly, but in a very dutiful sense also. He, in fact, tries to speak as the voice of our conscious. But he's a person, so he gives us guilt, a kind of guilt, whenever we perform any wrong activity or we even think of it. And whenever we perform any good activity, he actually pats us on our back, like we can feel it. We can feel a kind of encouragement inside, right? So that's him, that's Super Soul. At the same time, you see, because people don't, most of people who are conditioned souls in this world, they actually do not reciprocate well with him. Okay, and they do not value many a times the voice of conscience coming from inside. So his voice also naturally starts like going feeble. Like what happens, say, if I'm talking to a person, and if I am like uh, if he is calling out to me so many times and I'm not even bothering to listen to him, I'm just neglecting him. Okay, I'm just overlooking his attempts to catch my attention, then very soon he may even leave from there, or he may like not have much enthusiasm to call out to me next time. So that's what happens with most of the people. Still the Paramatma carries on. Within every species the living entity goes, in every new fresh life Paramatma carries on. He tries his best because he loves. But the difference when it comes to a pure devotee, you know what is the difference? Let me show you another quotation. This is from the compositions of one of our great acharyas called Narottam Das Thakur. How it goes is, Omara Hridaye Smadhan Govinda Vishram. See, Tomara Hridaye Sada Govinda Vishram. Govinda Kahena Mora Vaishnava Paranam. It says, O great Vaishnava, in your heart, Lord Govinda, Lord Krishna is always resting. Okay, it is a resting place of Lord Govinda. And Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. Okay, I'll show you yet another quotation, this time from Lord Vishnu, talking about Ambrish Maharaj. Okay, what is that verse? Says,
Sadhavo Hridayam.
yes, otherwise that only. Correct, you understood. So I don't know how to pronounce it. Mayam. Yeah, this is 9.468 from the Bhagavatam. Sadhavo hridayam mayam sadhunam hridayam taham madanyattena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. See, Ramprabhu, what does it say? It says Sadhavo hridayam mayam. So here Vishnu is speaking to Durvasa Muni. He says, hey Durvasa, I live in the heart of my devotees, and my devotees live in my heart. We both are prisoners in the jail of each other's heart, and the walls and the door and all those rods, okay, they are made of solid love. So nobody can like transgress those rods. Nobody can just come out of his own. So because I am in the prison of their hearts, so I am like that instrument. The remote is, and my remote is in the hand of my devotees, and my devotees, their remote is in my hand. So if you want me to forgive you, or if you want me to help you, he has to press the button. My devotee Ambrish Maharaj, go to him, beg forgiveness from him. You please him, I am pleased. You please me, they are pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasada, yasya aprasadan nagati. You displease them, I am displeased. You become my enemy. You displease me, you become their enemy. We are one party. We are one unit. We are different individuals, but we are one. This is so beautiful. He says, Madanya tena jananti. I do not know anyone else. I just know my devotees because I'm just madly in love with them. And why am I in love with them? Because they are in love with me. Because they trust me. Because they unconditionally serve me. They don't have any selfish motivation. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitamba, jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware, bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki tvai. This is the way to win the heart of the Lord. Unconditional devotional service. Okay. What is it? What is the meaning of unconditional? My dear Lord, you give me dhanam, janam, sundaram, followers, women. You give me wealth, or you give me name, fame, posts, abilities. Whether you give all these things or not, whether you give me accolades or not, whether you give me achievements or not, doesn't matter at all. Even if you do not give me freedom from my sinful reactions, even if you make me take birth after birth in this world, I'm totally fine with it, as long as you allow me to remember you. You allow me to chant your holy names. You allow me to render service to you. When Hanuman came back after finding out uh, the whereabouts of Sita Maya, so Lord Ram says, I am feeling so grateful to you, Hanuman. You lovingly took risk for me, and you did this service successfully for me. And Lord Ram says, my dear Hanuman, even if I give you everything I own in all the three worlds, if I give you everything in the spiritual world as well as in the material world, I feel I'll still be indebted to you. So what should I do? And Hanuman is like just grateful. He says, I just want more service to you. If at all you want to give me something, I don't want any of these things. And Lord Ram says, how can I ever repay your love for me? I think the best thing I can give to you in reciprocation is my own loving embrace. The same thing Krishna says to the gopis in little different words. He says that let your love for me be your very reward, because I cannot give you a fitting reward. How can I? Because you love me above everything else. You're willing to take all risks for me. You're willing to give up anything else for me. This is love. The the world does not know it. The world has not seen it. The world wants it badly. That's what everyone is looking for. That's why everyone has vacuum in his heart. You know, right from billionaires to paupers, they have vacuum in their heart. Why? Because they're actually looking for this love, and this love can only be given by the Lord and his pure devotees. And that is why when we connect to them, we become totally satisfied. Santushta santushta satatam yogi yatatma. Hmm? he the Our entire heart becomes satisfied actually. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radoshye ahetukya pratyata yayatma suprasiddhi. When Radhanath Maharaj went to that England, that whatever that parliament was there, all those people. He spoke from this verse. I was amazed. How could he speak from the verse which defines pure devotional service, right in all those Britishers, what character they have, and he spoke to them. But he spoke that how Yayatma Suprasiddhi, our heart will be totally satisfied. You know, and whether in heaven or hell, as Lord Shiva says to Parvati in 6th canto of Bhagavatam, Swarga Pavarka Narkeshu Apitulyartha Darshina. Whether you are in a hellish condition of life, in a very difficult, in a very terrifying circumstances, or in a very painful circumstances, or you are in a very, 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 materially very sound, very successful circumstances, you will be the same. Apitulya Darshana, you will be deeply satisfied in your heart. Pain in this world is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is when we have ego and we are separate from the Lord, when we have some selfish desires. But when we are able to see Lord's loving hand, you know then then the Lord is so happy in our heart and we are so happy. Just to end with, you see, when a person visits a hotel, even if he can go to a 5-star hotel or in the best motel in America, so he can eat some food and fill up his belly. Okay, he can, what do you call, like, quench his thirst, and he can quench his he can satisfy his hunger. He can even take rest in the night, and he can fulfill the biological need of the body. But there is something called Vishram. Okay, I don't know the equivalent in English. I'm sorry about that. but I don't think so there is an equivalent. There is this word Vishram is a Sanskrit or a Hindi word, what that quotation on Narottam Das Thakur talked about, that in the heart of a pure devotee, Lord feels at home. And in the heart of the conditioned soul, at max, he's in a motel or hotel. In fact, he's rather in a, kind of a very difficult public place. He's concerned about us. So he's like standing with anxiety. Hey, Prabhu, don't do this. Prabhu, oh, Haribol, when will you, get well? And Prabhu, hey, Haribol. Like this, that is how the Lord is. He's in anxiety. Prabhupada explained, he's standing and he's in anxiety. He's like, Prabhu. And in the heart of a pure devotee, he's sound asleep. There is a saying in Hindi in India, Ghode bech ke sona. He's like, even if some volcanoes are erupting all around you, still you'll not get up. You're so you know, you're so assured of everything being fine all around you. Okay, that is how the Lord is in the heart of a pure devotee. No anxiety. In fact, Lord's anxiety is the pure devotee has taken. Are my dear Lord, you take rest. I will wake up the spiritually sleeping jivas in this world, the other living entities. I'll wake them up. I'll bring them to you. Don't worry. Okay. So, Prabhu, I hope it answers your question. What a beautiful question you had.
Wow, thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. We're running a little late in time, but just very quickly, I'd like to just speak back two amazing examples from your explanation about the Lord in the heart of the devotee versus the somebody that's more materialistic. The one analogy that you brought along with that really beautiful Bhagavatam verse 9:468 is your when you're talking about the devotee is in my heart and I am in his, and that actually it's love that's holding him there, and that it's like that the remote for the devotee is in the hands is in Krishna's hands, but also the remote for Krishna is in the devotee's hands. That was an amazing analogy. And then the other one was talking about how the Lord feels very at home in the heart of his pure devotee, but then he feels like he's like kind of in a budget motel in the heart of a materialist that is not as reciprocal and responsive to the Lord's wishes. And just quickly, another idea I had was I'm sorry, I forgot my idea. Thanks so much for enlightening us so much about Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So before we end, one last thing. The end note. This is the very definition of higher taste. Higher taste means when we begin relishing the rasa of love, the selfless love and the competition to serve each other, which is there between the Lord and his devotees eternally. When we begin to feel the juice of that love, we'll be finding ourselves floating, levitating while living in this world. We'll be in this world, but not of this world, as Lord Jesus said. So this is actually called higher taste. Rasavarjam rasotyasam param drishtva nivartate, as the Gita says. And when this dawns in our heart, when this arises in our heart, even a little bit of this feeling, then in whatever we are doing in this world, while doing our duties, while doing our professions, while doing whatever, we will be actually always smiling, and it won't matter whatever is happening all around us. We'll act in the interest of others, but we'll be blissful always. So thank you so much for all of your enthusiasm and patience, and humbly giving an audience to Krishna's message. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Let's thank Acyuta Mohan Prabhu with 3 Hari Bols.
Hare Bol. Hare Bol. Hare Bol.